What is characteristic for Mexican pre-Hispanic calendars is the use of 260-day calendar, which was used for ritual and adivinatory purposes. But one of the characteristics of this calendrical numerology is the use of the number of 13. And if we count in different 13s, in the series of 13s, we can, the name in Spanish is trecena, so we can find that it is easily to find the date March 23. It is exactly 7 times 13, 91 days after December solstice. And if we count another 91 days, we arrive at summer solstice. And then if we count another 91 days, we arrive again in the autumnal equinox, which is here September 21. It is always 2 days of the astronomical equinox. And then we come to December 21, which means that it is a computational year counting using 28 series of 13 days. And this is one of the justifications of the use of the temporal definition of equinox in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerica. We have a lot of such alignments, but I must also say about the modern significance of equinox, which is of course related to modern pop culture and especially in New Age and new shamanic religions, which started to be popular in the 80s. In the 80s, one of the books talking about different alignments was by Luis Arrochi, and he presented for the first time in the popular literature the aspect of Chichen Itza. And from that time on, the people started to visit archaeological sites on the day of March 21, which is astronomical equinox, but partially because it was the holiday day. It was birth anniversary of Benito Juarez, one of the most important presidents of Mexico. So people had free time, and they used to use this free time to visit archaeological sites to make a lot of festivities. We have the same equinox pyramid at Cuecuilco, but now crowded with people who are dressed in white because they want to catch energy. In the morning, we have this astronomical phenomenon related to the pre-Hispanic kind of astronomy, but at noon, we have different healing practices, and especially the request for changing with the sun's energy. So this is a part of contemporary neocultural movements. People are appropriating astronomical heritage sites with different things in mind. And here it is a photo from Teotihuacan to show only the queue of the people who are who want to get to the top of the pyramid to charge with energy there. Okay, but you are of course interested in this kind of sites. Chichen Itza, it is a major Maya site located in northern Yucatan state, which is famous of this beautiful building called, I don't know why, but you of course know much better, observatory. It cannot, the copper cannot move, of course. It is a stone made, masonry made building, but its shape corresponds to modern shape of astronomical pavilions. And it is also famous of this structure called El Castillo, or the Temple of Kukulkan. And it is famous by this effect that in the days before and after the March and September equinoxes, we can find this interesting light and shadow phenomenon which is made by the rise of the setting sun, which is projecting the light and the shadow is made by the steps of this pyramid. It is a step pyramid, and just projecting the forms of triangles, of elongated triangles, which join to the head of a huge serpent. So it is called that the Kukulkan or a feathered serpent is just descending on the day of the equinox, which is very popular event for tourism, or a special kind of astrotourism today. It is empty here because it was made just at the time when the COVID started in Mexico, so the area was deserted. Last year, it is the photo from 2020, March 2020. And of course, we cannot attribute the knowledge of this phenomenon to the architects in the Maya times. And we can see, it is the citation of my colleagues' works, that the phenomenon is perceived at least a week before and at least a week after the phenomenon. But if you want to seek when the first triangle of light is appearing, then we must go to mid-February, perhaps. The light goes to the balustrade in February and vanishes by the end of October. So it makes around 260 days interval when the sun is visible, at least in the form of one triangle of light on the balustrade. And this marking of these periods was extremely important in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerica. So the alignment research suggests that the equinox in pre-Hispanic Mesoamerica was pivoted on the dates of March 23 and September 21, which corresponds to the temporal concept of equinox. And I'm submitting here two references about the different meanings of equinox. Thank you very much.
Excellent speech. I am very, very, how do you say, present because I visited Mexico, of course, but you give us a lot of details and a lot of information, and I would like to come back now after to know all of this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I hope that there are some questions maybe, or
I would like to say just a comment, because there are a difference between the reality about the history and the common thoughts of the people. The people assume that this phenomena connected to the light, the sun, and the pyramid is happen only one day or 2 days in the year. And this concept of a whole period is not part of the common knowledge of the people. Why is this? Why do you think?
No, the people, of course, they only choose one day for this.
Yes, but why is that?
Even if it falls on March 20, they are accustomed to the idea that the equinox falls on 21st of March. So even if they are told that this year the equinox will be a day earlier, no, they got used to climb the temples on March 21, and then of course they want to charge with energy. So the idea is to use, of course, the white dressing, of course. So it is another paradox of this movement. But I would say that it was partially promoted by the TV programs when they started to make presentations of this light and shadow phenomenon in Equinox in 21 in Chichen Itza. Then it started to be a cultural phenomenon, and a lot of folklore groups started to dance. So it was opportunity to sell all the beauties of the state of Yucatan, and it was patronized by the local government of the state of Yucatan, and of course to sell the Maya culture and all this thing. But then it was also mixed with the famous 2012 phenomenon when everybody thought that the world was going to end because of Mayan prophecies. So it is a part of a cultural calendar of events. And of course, it was from the administrative point of view, more easier to make it on 21st of March because it was a holiday day for people. Today we had a change of different governments, and they are no longer in charge. So the feast is movable now. So it can be celebrated on 20 as well. And it is a double day of equinox. Some people go on 21, some people go on 20. So, but it is an interesting mixture of how the ancient phenomenon is interpreted by popular culture today. And for us, of course, it is a very good pretext to show that we can extend our discourse about cultural astronomy beyond the community of academicians, of scientists, and we can converse with the lay people, not only with native population. The native population still preserves their own concepts. So we have three different stratums of society which we can move doing cultural astronomical research.
I would like to mention that from my point of view, there is one tourist cultural approach, and the tourists then distortion a lot of things, and I think that probably this is the reason. It's not so.
Sure.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, the tourists. Yeah, the tourists are a community, but also there are people who write books with this kind of bad information. And I think the education is the way to show what is the reality and what we can know, because in the deep, we cannot know everything about the past. So,
yeah, sure. But they are very, very educated because they are studying Nawa culture, they are studying Nawa language, Nawa calendar. They are self-learning communities who want to recover their pre-Spanish past. It doesn't mean that it is not the original culture, but it is a kind of cultural movement of people who are seeking to find their own identity, constructed through this artificial, or maybe a kind of reconstruction of the ancient culture.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. It was an amazing contribution.